is largely being fought out in cities like Tijuana and Juarez, because those are the smuggling corridors into the U.S. You could say it started far from the U.S.-Mexico border, in the small Mexican state of Sinaloa. This area is home to the notorious Sinaloa cartel, which is run by Joaquin Guzman, also known as El Chapo, or Shorty. And El Chapo used to run the cartel with his trusted associates, the Beltran labor brothers. And even though this area is a notorious drug trafficking region, for a very long time things were pretty peaceful. The narcos didn't bother the locals, locals didn't bother the narcos, and a lot of people thought that that situation was working and saw this area as a kind of narco paradise. This is one of the nice neighborhoods in Culiacan, and we've been told that many of the residents here are involved in the drug business. Well, there are lots of new big houses going up in this neighborhood, huge mansions. Local economists estimate that narco-trafficking is the single biggest industry in Sinaloa, making up 20% of the economy. All around me, you can see this big building boom that's been going on in this city over the past 10 years. And in many ways, these very legitimate businesses have been benefiting from narco money. You have the traffickers and the dealers making lots of money, and they, had to spend it. And so the drug trafficking business, in a way, created this whole narco society. One thing that people like to spend their money on is fancy cars. I hear that Hummers are very popular in Culiacan.
Exactamente, sí. Nosotros ahorita como esta unidad, lo estamos vendiendo. Es muy bien.
There's a myth that some of the narcos like to drive, big fancy cars. Do you get, a lot of narcos in here buying these cars?
No necesariamente, porque ya ve que aquí hay muchos agricultores. Somos líderes en producción de maíz, tomate, camarón. O sea, tenemos mucha diversidad.
The tomatoes are great, the shrimp is great, the corn is great. I just haven't tried the marijuana yet.
También es muy bueno ese de casa, que es el principal productor.
Because we're the main producer, so it's supposed to be good.
It's supposed to be good. Muchas gracias.
Para servirle.
You could say that this right here is where it all started. In January 2008, one of the Beltran brothers, El Mochomo, was arrested right in front of his house right here. And the Beltran brothers believe that El Chapo set him up. It sparked a split in the Sinaloa organization, and it sparked a huge wave of violence. Go wait there. Let's not stay here too long.
No, okay.
Okay, so right here you can see that someone has left him a message. It says, "I love you, Mochomo, I miss you, you're a little girl." The drug war is being fought out on the streets of Culiacan, but the actual cartels come from a remote region of Sinaloa known as the Golden Triangle, where few dare to go. Well, we're about an hour out of the city now, and the area has become a lot more isolated. It's just pretty much wilderness around us. And we also haven't been passing very many cars. We've passed about 5 cars in the last 5 or 10 miles. Another 45 minutes or so, and we arrived in the main town, just outside the Golden Triangle. So we just arrived here in Badiraguato, and the region around this town is where virtually all of Mexico's most powerful drug lords come from, including El Chapo. As we were getting our bearings, an army patrol rolled in. It seems like such a small, quaint town, and then you see scenes like this, and it just reminds you about the violence that goes on in this region. We hooked up with Omar, an official in the mayor's office, who agreed to give us a tour of the region.
Hi, I'm Laura. Nice to meet you. These are our police escorts. We are headed out of this main city into one of the smaller towns.
Our escort is telling us that the soldiers have been destroying a lot of the marijuana fields in this region, and it's left people struggling to find any source of income. So they've been turning to banditry, which is why we have our police escort to make sure that we can get to the next town safely without getting robbed. But even though the army has recently begun eradicating the marijuana around the village we were in, the authorities hesitate to go farther into the Golden Triangle. We're told that the town where El Chapo and where the Beltran-Leyva brothers are from are 5-6 hours deep into the mountains. And I asked our escort whether or not there's a police presence in those towns, and he said, no way. He said that those guys and their families, that's the law. The fertile region of Sinaloa has always produced marijuana, but it wasn't until the 80s that drug smuggling in the area became extremely lucrative. During that time, Colombians were cut off from using Florida to smuggle cocaine into the U.S., so they began working with small-time traffickers in Sinaloa to move drugs through Mexico. By the 90s, Mexico's drug families had replaced Colombians as the wealthiest, most powerful cartels in the world. Today, one of the most notorious cartel leaders is El Chapo. Do people here like and support El Chapo?
Sí, claro que sí. Pues es el apoyo que tiene la gente aquí económicamente hablando. Pues a él les ayuda a la gente, ellos trabajan para él y les ayuda. O sea,
so those could be family of El Chapo.
O simplemente conocidos que trabajan juntos.
And then it was time for a lunch break. Got some steak and potatoes going on here. Outside the restaurant, we chatted with a local resident.
Me llamo Laura.
Laura,
Sí.
me llamo Rigo.
Rigo. We heard that the military's eradication of the marijuana has impacted a lot of people here. What do people here think about the military?
Pues se han portado muy mal, dicen parte, han matado gente inocente, así. Se han metido a las casas sin permiso también.
And what about people involved in the drug business, like El Chapo? What do people think about El Chapo?
Pues muchos, pues les ha servido mucho para él le han metido carretera, la luz y mira un enfermo, locura, así, no se opina la gente. No, lo que pasa es que la casa no es la casa.
So you have the most powerful drug cartels in Mexico, and their families all come from this region, and some of the family members are buried here at the cemetery. Jesus Caro Carrillo, Hector Caro Carrillo, these guys are relatives of leaders of the Juarez cartel.
She's telling me that this is not a good idea to stay that too long here because people are watching us right now.
Okay.
They know we're here, so
People have seen us come up here.
yeah,
Time to leave the village.
yeah.
So what's happening here is kind of indicative of the situation here in Mexico. We've come here with 4 police escorts, but we're told that we got to get out of here because it's not safe. We got back to Badiraguato late in the afternoon. For our safety, we had to be out of town before the sun set on us, but we lingered to see the locals coming out to cruise the town square.
This area is so notorious for drug trafficking, but at the same time it seems so innocent. Like people are just driving around in circles in this square for fun. What do most of the people do for work here? So most people in this area are in the marijuana business?
Muchas.
around the corner, we met a 19-year-old who was in a different line of work, his family's churro business.
You're a young guy. Do you have any friends who have gone to work in the drug business or have wanted to work in the drug business?
La gran mayoría, dado la falta de trabajo y la falta de oportunidades, tienen que orillarse a trabajar en el narcotráfico.
You know, it's been very violent because of the drug situation. Do you know anybody who's been killed or hurt?
Sí, algunos amigos. ¿Muertos? Sí.
Has it become normal for young men to be dying because of this drug war?
Les gusta el camino fácil y quieren llegar a la riqueza rápidamente. Simple y sencillamente.
Gracias.
Adiós, que les vaya muy bien.
In an attempt to overwhelm the warring cartels, President Felipe Calderón began sending federal troops into different cities across Mexico.
This is a military camp, and you can see these soldiers all around the city of Juarez. They've been dispatched here to try to establish control.
Today, there are more than 40,000 federal troops patrolling the streets of Mexico, but violence has only gotten worse.
Si ponemos contrato de ejército, se siguen reglas, hay una regla de guerra y hay códigos de honor, pero en este caso no. En este caso peleamos con gente que no respeta ni a la señora que les dio la vida, entonces mucho menos respeta a nadie más.
We're just walking through this cemetery, and you can see these huge, really intricate mausoleums, and you have to think that you got to have some money to be building these things. When you think of cemeteries, you think of people dying of old age. At this cemetery, there's one thing that most of these people have in common. They're men and they're young. If you look at the years that they were born, this guy 1983, this guy 1981, over here 1980. It doesn't seem to stop. You can see all of these graves just ready for another killing. These men behind me building mausoleums. Right here you can see this young man, Lupito, and up in the corner, an AK-47. So there have been more than 1,000 murders this past year in Sinaloa. How many, out of that 1,000, how many of those murders have been solved?
Ninguno. De esos 1,070 asesinatos, ninguno de los que está relacionado con narcotráfico se ha aclarado, ni uno solo.
At the morgue in Culiacan, I met a criminalist who gathers evidence to help solve the murders.
So you are a criminalist here in Sinaloa. It's been a very violent year, not just here, but in all of Mexico. Has that made your job difficult?
Hoy se está moviendo un poquito más de violencia, un poquito más fuerte la cuestión de privarse de la vida.
What are some of the ways in which people are being killed? What are the methods being used?
Ahora lo que ha diferenciado es que ahora tenemos muertes colectivas, que tenemos de 3, 4, pues llámese de arma de fuego, gente que ha sido decapitada, gente que ha sido mutilada de alguna parte de su cuerpo. ¿Qué pasó?
So we were literally just conducting an interview with a criminalist on the forensics team here, and he came out and he said there's a shooting, so we're going to follow that team to the site.
My parents live in that neighborhood, so it's pretty scary always, because you always think he might be one of your friends, or you might know that person. You never know what you're gonna get. Yeah, that's the way it is.
We arrived at the crime scene just as the forensics team was walking in. A doctor had been shot by 2 guys with assault rifles who stormed his office and gunned him down.
Is this just normal? You've just been...
Normal, este tipo de cosas.
Por supuesto, es lo más normal. Ahí fue bien, fue uno. Aquí mata por puño.
That's his daughter.
It's his daughter.
Yeah.
That's his wife, and the daughter's in the car. It's hard and disturbing to think that this scene happens here every day, multiple times a day. Among all the different cartels, who is winning?
Nadie está ganando la guerra. Es una guerra de baja intensidad. Digo, comparada con otras guerras, no se van a hacer, puede pasar una década y van a sobrevivir los cárteles. Son demasiado fuertes sus estructuras, no se van a hacer daño, digo, van a seguirse matando, pero las estructuras van a permanecer.
So, Miguel, what are you hearing?
Someone from my contact, he just called me. There's a shooting right now going on about outside a supermarket, about 2 miles from here, and there's 2 dead bodies over there.
Mitch, come here. Do you see the shell casings right here? Right here, you can see the bullet casings right here. They're all over. Let's go around this way. Hurry before they close the line. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
Allá afuera trae el cordón, por favor, oiga, por favor.
Oh my God.
Allá, por favor, oiga, por favor. Allá afuera, por favor, oiga. Jefe.
Did you see that?
Allá afuera, por favor, oiga.
Oh my
Allá afuera el
god.
cordón, por favor, oiga.
Whoa.
Afuera el cordón, oiga, por favorcito, oiga. Allá por favor.
So you could see that. So you can just see that there were two people in the car and they were just mutilated.
She's crying. That's her son. That's her son. Leave me alone. That's my son. His cousin, the killers.
She's cursing the killers.
The killers. That guy curses the killers wherever they are. Why you stole this from me? Why?
Even though a couple people were just murdered in this parking lot, the supermarket is still open and people are still doing their grocery shopping. Do you think that things will get better? Do you have hope?
No creo, y menos aquí en Culiacán.
There's another shooting right now.
There's another shooting right
On the other
now.
side of the other part of town, it's one dead person.
Person is dead in another part of town.
But we'd seen enough and couldn't rush off to one more murder in a country where killings have become just a normal part of life.